It's another Spike Studio production. Welcome everyone. It is Sametime, the user's perspective with Tom, Duff, and Marie Scott. A quick intro. I do another one in the live webcast recording. If you miss this one, this is great for your users as well as your team that supports Sametime in your environment. Make sure they watch this video and feel free to share it.
Tom, Duff, and Marie Scott. They are now finishing editing, no secret there, a book on Sametime from a user's perspective. This is something new. Surprisingly, you're going to probably learn some tips and tricks that you may not have known about the client, but as well as to start thinking about Sametime as a user instead of as the administrator, as the developer, as writing plugins, but how does the user see the client interact? Remember, technically, in terms of development and administration, we act totally different in usage as well as how we see it in deployment and develop things for it. The user see it as a chat mechanism and need to know how to work the client itself. So Pack Publishing has honored these two with the rights to the book, and they are finishing it up now. They'll tell you more about that as well. But we've got to do our obligatory who it's brought to you by and stuff like that. Good things, consult in your pocket. Also, if you do not subscribe to the newsletter for, like I do, notes and stuff, so white papers are now coming out as well. Today was dynamic client configuration. But as usual, we're proud to have these two on. I like having them on as their third appearance on it, and this one for them is brought by Plantronics. The reason Plantronics likes dealing with the Sametime is they build the telephony plugin. So they have a free plugin to help you do better voice control with their headsets. I use both of their headsets, one on the road and one while in the office. I've got screenshots here of both. But they've got a free plugin that runs on your desktop. It hooks into Sametime, hooks in the IP, and if you guys are using video or voice-to-voice calls across Sametime, these things rock. So they're glad to be part of it because they are a developer as well as someone for the users to deal with. And these are the two I use. They're my preference of choice. They make about 30 of them if you look at the page that links to on the above URL. But the left one is a USB, goes to 8 devices, and it's about a 30-foot range, but it works with everything. Skype, I use it when I'm on the road with Skype. It works as well as here. Tom's breathing into the microphone. And then also the one on the right is their advanced one for offices. The 300.
I think he put the mic down his throat.
I am so sorry.
That was great. The right on the right is a 300-foot range, DEC 6 encrypted, great for the office, but it hooks to, if you look at it carefully, it's got 2 little buttons on the top. It hooks to your office phone as well as to your computer at the same time, and you can switch. I use this at work, switch back and forth between a Sametime call, a Skype call, or to your office phone. You can put one on hold, and you can jump back and forth. The headset has a button on the right side you see there where you can actually click and answer calls as you're walking around. If your phone supports it, but definitely for the voice stuff. So I love it. Deal with both of these exclusively. Hopefully you guys at least take a look, but definitely get their plugins later if you deploy any of their headsets in the way that they work. So what I'm going to do is change controls and flip it over to you two. Yeah, controls. Tom?
Okay, do you see my my screen here?
I have to give you the control first.
Okay.
Now you have control.
Okay.
Share your screen there, Tom.
Show my screen. Now you should see the splash screen.
It'll come up, and there it is.
Okay,
you guys are good to go.
And if for some reason I drop out, switch over to Marie's screen because I had to do some last-minute adjustment here to get a different machine up and going. Once again, I apologize for the delays on my part. Today, as Chris told you, we're going to be doing Sametime from a user's perspective. This won't be development, this won't be admin, this will be purely from the user's perspective. So hopefully you will learn some new stuff and be able to pass some of this along to your users. And if you are a user, then you hopefully will pick up a few new tips on your own. I'm Tom Duff. Marie Scott, who you've heard chime in over my difficulties here, will also be presenting. Our agenda, we'll be going over what is Sametime, the different client types that you can use on Sametime, which is quite varied. Marie will go into contacts and all the different things you can do with your contact list. The status messages and rich text messages, that will show you some of the things you can do to let people know where you're at and what your availability is as far as Sametime goes. You'll also have some time to look at the rich text messages, how you can do more than just basic chat. We'll talk about voice and video chats, which ties into our sponsor for this particular session. I'll go into Meeting Center. Meeting Center is a great tool if you're not using it for either ad hoc meetings or planned meetings. A lot of goodness there. Talk a little bit about Sametime Advanced, Sametime Gateway, on how to hook up with other people outside your organization, how to do some cool things in terms of persistent chats and stuff like that. And then hopefully, if I haven't burned all our time, we'll have a little time for questions. So with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to Marie.
All right, thank you. Glad everyone was able to join us this morning. Of course, you know, I don't know whether we have new Sametime users or existing Sametime users, but lots of times people are kind of confused about what is Sametime, and it kind of has an umbrella of things. And we wanted to include this slide so that we made sure that everyone kind of knew what Sametime was about. And some of the things that we're going to cover today include, you know, that Sametime is about instant messaging. It's about knowing whether your teammates are available to chat. It's about connecting with your colleagues and your teammates and your friends via your contact list, which is really important, and we're going to talk about that as well. It's about using Sametime away from your desk via a web browser at a kiosk, or whether you're using Sametime on your BlackBerry or your Windows Mobile, or via a web browser on your cell phone. And as Tom mentioned, it's about using the Sametime Meeting Center and connecting beyond the meeting room. And as we also talked about, it's about using voice and video, and how with very simple tools you can extend Sametime and make a chat a little bit more effective without too much configuration. Next slide. So let's just get started and kind of go over exactly where you can use Sametime and what the different clients are. So depending on what your environment is, you may have, you know, Lotus Notes client, and you may see Sametime in the sidebar, and that's usually referred to as the embedded Sametime client. You may also use the Sametime Connect client, or the Sametime mobile client, which is the Sametime that runs on your BlackBerry or Windows mobile devices. Sametime also runs with iNotes, which is the Lotus Notes web client. And a lot of people don't know that Sametime can also work with Microsoft Office and Outlook. You can actually, when you're installing the Sametime Connect client, there's an extra setting that will allow you to install the plugins that will interact with Office, so that if you're working on a Word document, you can actually check your online status of your colleagues while you're working on a Word document. Sametime also integrates with Lotus Connections, with Quicker, and with Lotus Domino custom-built applications. Next slide. So just to kind of familiarize you with different the interfaces for Sametime, what we've got here is the login screen for the Sametime 802 client and what a chat window looks like. And just for the purposes of this discussion and this slide set, we're mostly going to be talking about Sametime 802 because that's what most people have deployed. Sametime 8.5 and Sametime 8.5, which was just recently announced, is new, and there are people who have begun to install it. But really, in terms of the end user, most of the features that we're going to talk about today are still available in 8.5.1. So it's not like if you're using 8.5.1 that we're going to talk about anything that, you know, is that you would not be able to use if you are using 8.5.1. Next slide. And this is what the embedded Sametime client looks like with Lotus Notes. You'll see that the Sametime contacts show up in the Lotus Notes sidebar. And again, it's very similar. The designers have kept the same toolbar and icon set to be unified across the platforms. Next slide. Now here's some examples of screenshots from Sametime Mobile. Now with Sametime Mobile, because the designers were working with BlackBerry devices or Windows Mobile, the designers had to kind of customize how the interfaces looked based on the constraints of the devices. But you'll notice that you still have a lot of the same kind of things that you're familiar working with, like awareness, and that you're going to use the same username and password that you would when you log into Sametime on your desktop. And you're still going to see, in some cases, like on your BlackBerry, that you can still use things like smileys. Next slide. Now this is a screenshot of Sametime usage from an iNotes client. Now what's nice about Sametime and iNotes is, first off, if you're traveling and you're at a kiosk or in an internet cafe and you're reading your email, and you can actually log into Sametime and do a quick chat with your contacts from your inbox, and you can see who is online, and you can actually work with your contacts from the full iNotes client. It's very handy. Next slide. Now here's what we were mentioning earlier about Sametime integration with Microsoft Outlook and Office. This is actually a screenshot of a Microsoft Outlook inbox. And you'll see on the left that when you install the plugin, that you're actually going to get many of the icons that you're familiar with Sametime. You'll see you've got the chat icon, and you've got the video and audio icon. And if you click on the chat icon, you're actually going to get the chat window to begin chatting with your contacts from Outlook. Some people prefer the Outlook client versus the Nose client, but that's okay. But they can still use Sametime. Next slide. Now this is a screenshot of Lotus Connections. Lotus Connections is social software that many companies have deployed, and Sametime is integrated through the profiles in Connections. And on this screenshot you can see that the awareness that shows that this person is available is integrated into the profile. Next slide. So if you need more information about exactly what is required to get started with Sametime Connect or Sametime Mobile, or if you need more information about Sametime Outlook, how it works with Outlook or Office, these are some references. The Sametime Connect reference actually gives you information about what operating systems are required. For the most part, 802 works with Windows, XP, Vista, and also Mac OS 4 and 5, and on the Linux operating systems, most of the standard desktops. Sametime Mobile works with BlackBerry 4 and Windows Mobile 4 and 5. Next slide. Now, what's really key for Sametime is your contacts. It's all about collaboration. So, you don't want to chat with yourself. You want to chat with people that you know, your teammates, your colleagues, your buddies in the office. So how do you add contacts? What we're going to talk about a little bit is how you can add them, some tips for managing your contacts, how to set your personal preferences, and then how to really use alarms and notifications. A lot of people kind of forget that those kind of features are there, and we're going to just talk about those a little bit. Next slide. Now, your Sametime contact list gives you lots of information. The little awareness icons, little green lights and yellow lights tell you, when people are online or they're in a meeting or they're using their mobile phone to connect to Sametime. But you can also do things like hover over them with your mouse key to, if you've got certain preferences set, to see their business card information, or if they're set to, if they're in a meeting, sometimes they may have customized their meeting message to actually give you more information about what they're doing when they're away from the office. Next slide. So how do you add contacts? One way to do it is from your inbox. So if you're using the Sametime embedded client, you can drag and drop a contact to your Sametime contact list. Or you can right-click on the name in the notes on an email and select Add to the Sametime contact list. And this dialog box will typically appear. Now, what's really handy about this is that at the same time that you do this, you can add it to a group. And this is kind of a time-saving feature. Groups are used to organize your contacts, and especially if you're in a large organization, groups are good to set up people for team projects, or if you're going to be using them for announcements, which is something we'll talk about later. It's good to set them up in groups, and we'll talk a little bit later about the private groups versus public groups. Next slide. You can always also add Sametime contacts by clicking the little person icon, which if you hover over the toolbar, you'll see Add New. So from the Sametime contact list, click the new icon, and then you can use it to look up a name. Now, depending on how your Sametime installation is configured, you may have different types of lookups, whether you have a domino directory or an LDAP directory. And you may need to talk to your Sametime administrator if you've got questions about that. But typically all you have to do is type in a user's name and then click Lookup. And if there's multiple matches, those will be displayed. But in this case, for example, I typed in Mio Giacometti, and only one user was found, and that's the person I want. And so I clicked Add. At the same time, I also added her to the group work. Click next slide, please. The other way you can add contacts is using type ahead, and that's something that Note users should be really familiar with. It's the concept of type ahead. We use it all the time when we address emails. Well, type ahead can also be used in the toolbar and then Sametime contact lists. When you click in the search bar and start typing, Sametime is going to find the matches on the names. So in this case, we started typing M-A-R-I, and we came up with these matches from our address book. So, we can select which one we want to be added to our contact list. Now, as I said, if you work in a large organization, be sure that you type as much of the name as you want, because you want to make sure you choose the right name. I mean, you don't want to be sending, a silly smiley to your CIO or CEO by accident. So be sure you look for the correct name and select the correct name. Next slide. Now, as I said, groups are really handy, and you can create groups, delete groups, move people between groups, and you as the manager of your contacts, you can create personal groups and move them, and change them, and you can have cascading groups. You can call them whatever you want. They help you organize your contacts into teams. They're useful, as I said, when you're going to be sending out announcements, when you need to see when your team is online. It's an organizational tool. Next slide. And you know, sometimes if you've got an extensive contact list, you might want to, you know, find ways to organize the contact list. So you can drag and drop the lists, the groups from one place to another, but you can also go to View and change how the names are sorted. So you can actually sort the groups alphabetically, you can sort your contacts alphabetically, and instead of having all of the hierarchical notes name being displayed, you can also change the contact list so that it also just displays short names. And you know, in case you didn't realize, you can also create nicknames for your individuals that are in your contact list. All you have to do is right-click on the name, and you'll see the option to create nickname. Of course, you know, you don't want to call the CEO, you know, something derogatory and then have somebody come by and ask you, you know, why you're calling him, you know, something not so nice. But, you know, but that's up to you. Next slide. So we talked about the concept of private versus public groups. Now, you might be able, depending on how things are configured, also be able to add public groups to your contact list. And public groups are those groups that the Domino administrator or Sametime administrator set up in your Domino directory or LDAP directory. And these are really useful, especially like if they've set up a departmental group and say you've got 200 people in your department and you don't want to have to add all those individuals yourself. Well, what you can do is you can do a search for a public group and you can add a public group. Now, keep in mind that you can't change the membership of a public group and you can't make any changes to the group name or the, you know, change a nickname of a person in a public group. But you can use a public group when you're using the announcements function. Next slide. So you've got this contact list. You've really, you know, worked to set it up. Now, what can you do to put it to work for you? You notice that people are going online, offline, you know, but you want to know when one of your team members comes back online, you know, and you don't have time to sit there and watch that. What can you do to make sure that you're notified? Well, you can set an alert. So how do you do that? What you can do is you can right-click on their name and select the option to alert me when available. Now, when that's done, you'll see a little bell next to their name letting you know that you've set that alert. And what happens is you'll get a pop-up message to notify you that they've come back online, so then you can begin a chat with them. Next slide. You can also set alerts not only when people become available, when they become unavailable, or when they go offline. So there's some reasons why you might want to do that. At the same time, you can also set up sound files so that if, you know, you don't necessarily want to pop up but want a audible sound to let you know when somebody goes offline, you can set that as well. Next slide. Now, you know, we've talked about contacts, talked about groups. Now, some people might have the ability, depending on how your network is configured, you've got Sametime in your own organization, but you might also know that you've got Sametime, you know, either multiple Sametime servers or Sametime in other organizations that you need to connect to. You know, you might not be aware that you can add other Sametime communities to your Sametime configuration, and this is just a preference in Sametime. And these users just show up as other contacts in your Sametime contact list. But first you have to add them and add the same time servers as part of a server community. Next slide. And what's really good is, to keep them straight, is that you have the ability to set up a different icon for each same time server community. So you can actually see the differences in the icons when you have the same time logins on your toolbar. And this is just one graphical way to keep the connections straight and your same time logins straight between communities. Next slide. Additionally, you can customize your contact list. So you can change your font size, you can confirm when you start events, but one other handy item is that you can turn on or off whether or not you show someone's business card when you hover over the contact name. I don't necessarily like to have the business card in the chat, but I do like to have the contact information, the business card contact information when I hover over somebody's name, especially if I've added them via a public group, and I may not be really familiar with who they are, but that way I've got their business card if I want to do a quick lookup on their phone number. Next slide. Now, this feature I just love, and that is announcements. Now, you might need to check with your same time administrators as to whether or not they've enabled this for you. Sometimes they tend to lock this down, but if you see the megaphone in your toolbar and it's not grayed out, it means that this feature is available to you. You can actually use same time to send an announcement. And this is different than a chat in that a pop-up will display when you send an announcement. So where this comes in handy is, for example, if you've got a private group of your project team, for example, and you want to remind them that you're going to be meeting in a half hour, you can send them an announcement that, the project team meeting is going to be in a half hour. And all that they're going to see on their desktop is this pop-up with a message. And in this example, we said, that the same time server was going to go down at 9 o'clock p.m. So it's a really useful feature. Just as a tip, we said, make sure you don't overuse it. You don't want to be sending a lot of inappropriate announcements. Let me just say, make sure you're not, pinging the CIO or the CEO, inappropriately. But anyway, this is a great feature. Next
As
slide.
she said, it can be, regulated by the same time administrator, because the last thing you want is somebody who's leaving to send out a company-wide announcement to everybody kind of burning their final bridges, and that can be ugly.
Yeah.
And it's happened. So same time awareness, or same time status. This is a lot of times known as presence awareness, and it talks about how you can let other people know what you're doing, what your availability is, and that way they can make the appropriate choice as to what they're going to do in terms of how they're going to contact you. Talk about why it's important and how you can customize that for you. So the same time statuses, there's 4 basic icons that you'll see. You'll have your green dot or your little green square, which in effect says, I'm available. Go ahead and ping me if you need to, contact me, it's okay. Followed by that is the yellow diamond. And the yellow diamond usually means I'm not available. Now this could mean that you've stepped away, you've locked your terminal, because you do have the ability to say after so many minutes of not using the computer, or if you sign off or something like that, just go ahead and display the yellow diamond saying I'm away. So you can still send messages to the person, just realize that you may not get an immediate answer. The third one is I'm in a meeting. Now that can mean that I've gone to a meeting somewhere and I'm not available. It can also mean like we're in right now. I'm in a meeting and I really don't want you to ping me on Sametime because I may be sharing my screen, and as such anything that is on my screen that pops up is going to be seen by a larger number of people, and that could be somewhat embarrassing depending on what they're pinging you about. The final one that you've got is do not disturb. That's the red circle with the white dash through it. And that in effect says, you can't contact me. I really don't want to be disturbed in this particular fashion. There are ways that you can allow some people still to get in, which I'll show you in a moment. But when you see this, you can pretty well figure that either they don't want you to ping them, or they're not going to respond to anything you've got if you happen to be one of the people who can still talk to the person in this case. And if there's no icon displayed next to their name, that means that they're not even signed on to Sametime. So you couldn't get a hold of them even if you wanted to. Now, the most important thing you want to do is update your status and be pretty regular about it. It gets really frustrating when you have an I'm available there, but you've gone off for a 2-hour lunch, and the person's pinging you thinking that they're going to get somewhat of an immediate answer, and 2 hours later you still haven't gotten back to them. So it's a good idea to go ahead whenever you go away or whenever you come back, change your status, and when you change your status, Sametime will prompt you for a new message, or you can have it prompt you for a new message. In this case, you can either take the standard I am available, I am away, or you could go ahead and key in a new message that is a little bit more descriptive, such as, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm away, I'm at a doctor's appointment, but I expect to be back at 1 o'clock. That really helps your chat partner to understand what it is that you're doing, and that there is no chance that you will be responding to them in the next 3 hours. And if they need something faster than that, they need to go a different route. So I would strongly suggest that you get into the habit of making sure that your Sametime status is updated on a regular basis. Now, in your Sametime preferences screen, there's a lot of different things you can set in there. One of them are the status messages. And what you can do on your status message preferences screen is you can set what the default message will be for each of the settings. So in my particular case, since I work from home 4 days a week, I've got an available message there that says telecommuting, cell number, home number. And that way, when somebody hovers over my name in Sametime, they will see that they can call my office number, but my office number is not going to be answered. They need to either call my cell number or call my home number. And preferably, I would prefer they ping me first to let me know they're doing that. But you can do those types of things here in your status message defaults. And so the only thing I have to remember is when I am in the office that 1 day a week to make sure that I actually click my Sametime icon and change my status message for the default available one from the telecommuting to I'm in the office. And that way they know they can either walk over and find me or they can call the office number. Now, I talked about the fact that if you're on Do Not Disturb, you can allow some people still to get to you. In Sametime Preferences, there's a privacy setting. And on the privacy setting, it gives you some nice options how you can manipulate how you appear to other people and give certain people certain privileges that everybody else doesn't have when it comes to contacting you. So I can say when I'm online, I enable this list, and I can either say everybody sees that I'm online except for a few people, or nobody sees I'm online except for these people. So you can go either an exclusive list of who can see you or an inclusive list of who can see you. This also works with Do Not Disturb. Do Not Disturb is nice in the fact that you can say to the entire organization that's on Sametime, do not disturb me. But if you're a team lead and you've got 2 people who are working on the same project that you're working on that you don't want to be disturbed about, you could list those people as saying they can contact me when I'm in Do Not Disturb mode. So when they click on the Do Not Disturb icon next to your name, they'll actually be able to send you a Sametime message where everybody else will get a pop-up message that says this person is in Do Not Disturb mode, you may not send them a message. So that's a really nice feature if you want to make sure certain people can see you, or if you've got somebody who is constantly pestering you on Sametime and you just don't want to deal with them on a regular basis, you could put their name in the exclusion list for when I'm online, and they'll never see that you're online. Once again, be very judicious about how you use this. You don't want a long list of people who can't see you, because the whole point of Sametime is to collaborate with others. Now, a lot of people just use chat as regular text, type on the screen, get your message, go on to whatever you're doing. But you can do a whole lot more with chat. One thing that you can do is work with emoticons. Emoticons being short for emotion icons or emotional icons. What that allows you to do is add a little body language or add a little context to what the message is. It's very easy in the written language to put a statement out there and have somebody read it and take it completely wrong because they didn't know that you were joking or they didn't know you were serious, whatever. So what you can do in your toolbar that you'll see along the bottom part of your chat screen is covered up by the little emoticon screen there that we have. There's a little smiley face. When you click on that, it'll bring up your selection screen, and you can click on one of the emoticons that's displayed. It will put it in your chat screen, and you can send it to your chat partner. Now, don't go overboard. A lot of people say, oh, gee, I've got this great icon of an elephant jumping on a trampoline, and yes, that is an example that I have had sent to me, which is fine when you see it for the first 3 seconds, but if you still got that chat up on the screen and you're seeing the stupid icon with the elephant jumping up and down on the trampoline, and it takes 10 minutes for you to clear that part of the screen off on your chat, it gets really tired to look at. So be careful with the emoticons that you add, which you can do on this screen right here. Going back real quickly, if you click on the Edit button will bring you to the Preferences screen for emoticon palettes. And it's here that you can add in a new emoticon that you want. You can delete one. You can import and export the entire palette if you want to share it with somebody or if somebody shared theirs with you. So you can go beyond just the standard, here's the 8 or 10 icons that we give you to deal with. Plus, if somebody sends you an emoticon that you really like, what you can do is you can right-click on it, and part of the drop-down menu will say Add to Emoticon Palette. So that's a really good way to pick up emoticons that people are sending you that you think would be really useful for your particular situation. At the bottom there, we have a URL of a site that has a number of emoticons that you can go out and download and add to your own thing. Once again, I do caution you, what you may find funny in emoticons may not be what another person would find funny, and I've seen situations where people have sent like an emoticon of somebody vomiting or something like that, and the recipient took exception to it, talked to HR, and you just want to be careful with what you do. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. Graphics can help you convey a lot more information instead of trying to type it all out. So if you have a graphic, you can simply copy it from whatever package it's stored in. Maybe you're highlighting the graphic from a web browser and copying it, or you're picking it up from word processing package. But whatever it is, you can copy that graphic, put your icon into the area where you type for your chat, and do a paste. And what that does is paste the graphic into your chat screen. Then when you hit enter, as you see on the lower right, that graphic goes across to your chat partner. Once again, very useful if you're trying to convey some information that doesn't go well in text. Maybe you want to show somebody a new logo you're considering or something like that. You can do that in chat by just sending them a graphic of things. Another thing you can do, which is really nice if you want to get a file to somebody very quickly, say it's a PDF or a Word file or something like that, is you can actually send them an attachment. So what you do is you click on the little paperclip icon down in the toolbar, and that brings up a regular selection dialog box for files on your system. You choose one, and you go ahead and click it, and that will queue it up for sending, as you see down here in the chat portion of my screen. So I'm sending a 70K PDF file called printable. Now, it's a good idea to make sure that you've got virus scanning so you're not sending somebody a virus that's going to kick off on their system. Also be aware that many times Sametime administrators will put a limit on the size of the file you can send because you don't want to overwhelm your file network or your network bandwidth. And in that particular case, they're not going to let you send a 100 meg file across the network. Sametime would handle it, but it just could bog things down. So just be aware of the fact that there may be some limitations there. On the left side, you'll see what you see as the partner is waiting, or as you're waiting for the partner to accept your file. And on the right side, that's what your chat partner is going to see. They accept the file, they get a link to where it's stored in their system, and they can click on it and launch the file from there. So it's a very convenient way, if you're not all in the same place at one time, to go ahead and get files back and forth with each other. And then a feature that I love is the ability to clip part of your screen. This takes a little bit of coordination to get set up, but you go to the part of the screen, or you go to the particular screen that you want to send somebody a piece of, and put your chat window over the top of it. And then what you do is you click on the icons with the two little boxes, as you see squared off there in the toolbar. What that does is that gives you an icon that has a little crosshatch, and as you click your mouse and you drag it, it outlines part of the screen that's going to be clipped. So you just keep your mouse key pressed down, you highlight the part of the screen that you're going to be sending to your chat partner, and when you let up on the mouse, you get your screenshot tool, which shows you the part of the screen that was clipped off. What you can do at that point is just click send, and they go ahead and get exactly what it is you sent, just like that. As I said on the last screen there, be careful that you're not sending them any personal information, or that you include any of that on your chat screen, because that could be a violation of privacy rules, or it could just be flat out embarrassing. One thing that you can also do if you have part of your screen set up on the screenshot tool is you can use the little icons under the send menu option there to either draw freeform circles, straight lines, arrows, squares, circles, so you can actually annotate part of the screen that you're sending them to highlight certain aspects of it. So if you need them to see the whole screen in context, but you want them to see one little figure on the screen or something, you could easily circle it, send it, and they'll go ahead and get it. Once again, great feature that I don't think a lot of people use enough. Voice and video, you can do voice and video calls over Sametime. You don't have to do anything special or complex to get there. So what you do in your Sametime list is you highlight the contact that you want. In this case, I'm going to make a voice call. So I highlighted Marie's name here, and I clicked Call Selected Contact. In the step 2, you see the screen that I get saying that I'm trying to connect with Marie. In step 3, that's what she's seen. She's seen that I'm attempting to call her computer, and she can either answer or decline it. If she's smart, she'll answer it, because I'm sure I'm very important to her, as we were planning all this for you. And then in step 4, when she connects...
Are you sure about that?
No, I'm actually not very sure about that, but I'll just go ahead and assume it in this case.
Okay, just checking.
Okay. I don't assume anything. In step 4, you'll see that you're connected, you're talking, and it would be just like we were just talking right there. What you've done is you've bypassed the phone system, you've got a real quick voice connection. It's cheaper than having your phone system, especially if you're calling long distance. Very convenient way to make sure that you get that call in there. I could do the same thing with video if I have a webcam, where once again I highlight Marie's name, and instead of clicking Call Selected Contact, I click Start Video Call with Selected Contact. Step 2, you see that I'm connecting. You'll see my image, which is what I'm being captured in my video camera. Down below, she's seen that she's invited to a video call. So if she's got video, the video will show. If she doesn't have video, it will still be a blank screen. She can still connect, and we can still talk. I just won't see anything in terms of video from her. Now in this case, you know, she actually had a webcam, but she was feeling shy that day, so she just put her hand over the camera. But you get the basic idea here. When you're doing voice and video, there's a couple things that you need to keep in mind. One, you should have a good sound card. It should be full duplex to where it can both send and receive at the same time. So it doesn't cut the person out from hearing you, or you don't hear people when you're talking. Microphones and speakers, those make all the difference in the world. If you can get a headset with a microphone attached to it, that's probably the best way to go about it. You can have a desk microphone. Once again, that gets a little bit more complex, or actually I should say complex. Gets a little bit more messy in terms of background noise if you don't have it set up exactly right. Just so the sponsor doesn't think that, oh gosh, he sounds horrible. I'm not using a Plantronics headset right now because I had to do some last-second jockeying around to get connected. But you have an idea that the more time or the more quality that you spend on the microphone side, the better it's going to be. And then webcam, once again, typical
I
webcams.
am using my Plantronics headset.
She is using her Plantronics, yes, I'm sorry. Like I say, it was a very harried 5 minutes late to get everything set up. If you go into your Sametime preferences, you will have an area where they have web conference tools. You can select that you have mic, speakers, webcam, and you can go ahead and test your tools beforehand so you make sure everything's setting up real well. I'll pick it up speed-wise a little here since we're running out of time. Meeting Center, I talked about Meeting Center being really important. This is where you can do screen sharing. You can have whiteboards where you can annotate files. You can do voice and video like we did before. Really cool is you can record a session for future playback, really good for training purposes. You can bypass conference services. You can bypass long-distance calls. It's really nice. So your Sametime administrator would give you a URL to the Meeting Center. As you can see here, you can log in, and then you can either attend or schedule meetings. If you're attending a meeting, what you would see is the meetings in progress would be listed. You've got an attend button there, which you would click, and it would go ahead and sign you up, or actually log you into the meeting to where you'd be able to interact with everybody. If you were scheduling a meeting, you'd go ahead, click the schedule meeting button, and you would see this dialog box that would walk you through the things that you need to do. And really the only thing that you're absolutely required to do is this first screen here for essentials. Meeting name, give a description of what the meeting's going to be, you set up when the meeting's going to be, or you can just say start it right now. Specify whether or not you're going to have audio and video available. If it's a secure meeting of some sort, you can have a password to make sure people just don't wander into it. Clicking the People tab, you can say who's going to be the chair of your meeting. Chair has the ability to do like web polls, share URLs, and just do a few other things as kind of the moderator of the meeting, much as Chris is the moderator of this one. And then you could invite particular people to the meeting instead of just leaving it open for everybody. You can add slides to the same time.
Back up just a sec.
Sure.
I always recommend that you password protect your meetings. Even if you're recording the meeting for later use, it's a good idea to password protect because, as I said here, you don't want any unexpected guests, and especially if it's a meeting where you're discussing confidential materials or you just don't want somebody to drop in. It's a good idea to do it, and if you're using the Meeting Center to record training materials, it's easy to provide that password later on. So it's just a good practice. So I just throw that in.
Okay, thank you. Slides, if you're going to do any whiteboarding, you can add the slides here. So you just pick a file that you're going to share. You can do more than one file, and that will upload it into the Meeting Center. And then you can say, am I going to allow group chats? You'll see that in just a moment. Am I going to record this meeting for later? And do I want to hide the meeting to where people can't see it unless I've notified them that the meeting actually exists and given them the URL that they can click directly into the meeting? So you've got different levels of security. Once you're into the meeting, this is the interface that you see. You've got your participants over on the left-hand side, any web pages that I wanted to share. I could also do polling if I wanted to take any quick polls with people. I can also have a group chat down at the bottom if I want people to be able to chat amongst themselves. And then on the right-hand side is where you'll see screen sharing occur, any of the whiteboarding occurs. That's where all the activities are going to happen. Talked about screen sharing. If I want to, or I can let somebody else do it, I can say share my screen. And when I share my screen, I've got the ability to either share my entire screen, much as I'm doing right now, or I can share a portion of my screen, so I can just highlight a portion of my screen and that's all anybody will see during the course of the meeting. Or I can just say, I'm going to share a particular application like Word. I personally recommend just sharing your entire screen, because what happens when you share applications sometimes like Word is maybe as you're working in Word, there'll be a pop-up dialog box. Since you're not sharing that particular part of the application, all the users see is this gray on your screen as you're doing something there. Where if you share your entire screen, they can see what it is you're doing. I just find it a little easier to share the entire screen. If you go into the slides portion of your meeting, this is where you get into the whiteboard. You can pull up your screen and you can, as you're discussing the file that's up on the screen, you can do different things like highlighting portions of the screen. You can add text. You can circle things. You can annotate stuff. This is really nice if you're trying to collaborate on a document and you need some group input. Throw it up on a whiteboard, make your changes, and then when you get done, you can save this and print it out in a rich text format. And that way you have a record of what was annotated and you can go off and do whatever you need to do to fix things. And once again, you can do voice and video. Video is nice in the fact that it will show you the video feed of the current speaker that's out there. So if you've got a trainer out there, the trainer can be showing their video to you, so you're actually seeing a face attached to the voice, attached to the screen share, and it makes for a really nice cohesive package, especially if it's being recorded for future use, such as in training. I said if you record the session, there is a place where you can see what the recorded meetings are, and all you have to do is go out, click replay, and it shows it back. Once again, this is perfect for training situations. If you want to do a session once and then have people attend the training over the next 2 weeks, you don't have to sit there and schedule 15 sessions and repeat it 15 times. Another thing Meeting Center is really good for that I use it for is troubleshooting on people's desktop. People saying, I got this problem, I can't figure it out. Invite them into a meeting, go ahead and let them share their screen. You can see what it is that they're doing and walk them through. If you're at remote locations, this is a lifesaver. This is why I can work from home 4 days a week, because I can use Meeting Center to allow me to see what they're doing. And with that, Marie, I hand it back over to you. Marie?
I'm here.
Okay,
I'm going to cover some, quickly cover some features of Sametime Advanced. Next slide. The first feature is what's called a persistent chat. And what's really nice about persistent chats and Sametime Advanced is the ability to create a group chat that is available 24/7. And what that means is that you've got these moderated chats that the content is saved permanently. And Sametime Advanced is an add-on to the Sametime standard feature set. And if you're not sure whether or not you have this in your organization, check with your Sametime administrator to be sure. But this is a really valuable tool, especially if you're working on a project with people in different locations. Because if you want to, discuss, a document or whatever, you can throw it into the persistent chat, and then, say for example, you can't be involved in the chat at a particular time. If you go back to the chat later on that day, the discussion that went on while you were gone is still there, and you can go back days at a time and you can check on what was said. So it's a very useful feature. Next slide. Another feature of Sametime Advanced is something called broadcast communities. And depending on how it's configured, different people can set up a broadcast community. And this is something you can search for from the Sametime client. In this particular screen, somebody's got one that's called Greenhouse Broadcast or iNotes Broadcast, and it's a way for people to share information about a common project or topic, and whether or not information is available to them or not. Next slide. Another feature is something called Skill Tap, which allows you to set up frequently asked questions and then to poll the community in the broadcast community for questions. So in your own organization, you know that you've got people who are kind of specialists in their own area. So, you know, for example, what department, you've asked them a question, what department has the largest budget this year? So if you search the FAQ, somebody may have already posted the answer to that question, or you may have somebody in the broadcast community who may already know that, and they will see that question and then can post an answer. So it's a way to get everyone in the community to, you know, help each other and also quickly respond to common everyday business type questions and answers. Next slide. Another feature is something called instant polling. So, for example, if you want to ask the broadcast community, you know, a question about how long, in this case, how long should we make our next budget meeting? You know, you're trying to get a feel for how long, you know, should it be 2 hours, 6 hours, whatever, and you want to send out, you know, rather than send out emails to everyone and then sort through the emails, you can send out a quick poll and solicit the results quickly. This is something that's very useful. You know, if you wanted to send out a quick poll about what people thought about a dress code or some kind of change in parking fees, I mean, of course, you might get some really somewhat interesting responses to things like that. But again, it's, you know, it's a way to bring people together and collaborate. It's very useful. Next slide. Okay, we're going to talk about the Sametime Gateway. And again, this is a feature that is not built into Sametime. It is an add-on, but it's a very valuable tool. It allows you to connect to external instant messaging sites like AOL, like Yahoo, and Google Talk. Next slide.
And as you know, Marie mentioned, it is an add-on in the sense that you may be in a situation or a company that for regulatory reasons has to make sure the privacy is maintained and stuff like that, where Sametime, when you're going Sametime to Sametime, you can have secure encrypted chats. You lose that encryption when you're going out to Yahoo and AIM and stuff like that. So it may not be that your Sametime administrators are just spoil sports. It may be that regulatory reasons prevent them from doing so.
So the way that you can tell whether or not you've got the Sametime Gateway enabled is when you do a lookup for a Sametime contact is whether or not you have this option to add an external user by email address. That's how you know whether or not you've got that available to you. And if you were adding, for example, someone who's on Gmail, you would type in their Gmail address, and then you would select Google as their provider. And you can add them to a group just like you do any other contact. Next slide. And so in this screen, you'll see that they show up with little emoticons next to their name that show you that, okay, for example, SnoogyCat@gmail.com is a Gmail user, and Bentley Snyder is a Yahoo user, and Baxter C is an AOL user. And you can see that by the little icons that are next to their names. And just like any other contact, you can create a nickname, you can move them to different groups, and you can also create alerts to see when their person status changes as well, just like you can any other Sametime contact.
One thing to keep in mind too in this is that if you go to add, say, you know, Baxter C at AOL.com, you'll notice that a lot of times when you're working on those other instant messaging systems, you'll get some sort of message saying so-and-so wants to add you to their list. Do you want to deny or authorize? When you add them this way, they're going to see that same message. So you may add them on your list here, but until they actually authorize you, they're not ever going to show as active on your list. So if you do end up adding them and they never go active, it may be that they denied your access and you would never see that. So they still do have control in the long run over whether or not you show up on their screen.
Right, and that is a little different in terms of versus adding another same-time user. It does require interaction on their part to add you. But one nice thing about the gateway is that an AOL user will see when you go active, just like you'd see when a same-time user goes active. So the awareness, though not the fidelity is not quite the same. The awareness presence shows both ways. So, we've talked a lot about Sametime 802, and as many of you are aware, Sametime 8.5 and just recently Sametime 8.5 was just announced. And for the most part, from a user perspective, there's not a lot of change in functionality, but there are some really nice things that have come with Sametime 8.5 and 8.5.1 that you as a user should really be excited about. And one thing is the browser-based Sametime client, and that means that you can actually go to a website and log into Sametime just from a URL. And the other nice thing is that it now supports an iPhone. So it's an iPhone app. I think that that's really exciting. It extends the mobile platform. Additionally, the Meeting Center is now applet free, and what that means is that it loads much faster. For those of you who have used the Sametime 802 Meeting Center, you know that there's a delay and that you have to load the Java applets. And then there's been some issues with different browsers, and if you're on a
right
Mac,
version of the Java.
right, and if you're on a Mac, sometimes there's been some issues with compatibility. But now, because it doesn't require any of that, it's really fast, and they've done a lot of user interface changes, and it looks really nice. Additionally, some new client platforms include some of the newer Blackberries, newer version of Mac, and also some newer version of the Linux operating systems. Next slide.
Okay, so everything that we've gone through there, you may be thinking, okay, that was a real high-level flyby in an hour. Where can I find more information about Sametime? These 4 URLs here, if you download the slides after the end of the session, you can go ahead and visit these. You've got the Sametime website from IBM. You've got learning resources, which are really nice, that walk you through different steps and different things that you can do within Sametime as really a step-by-step method. You can go to the Sametime wikis, which are maintained both by IBM and people such as yourself, where they can share information amongst each other on how Sametime works and some of the different things that they've found that solve problems. You can also go out to the Sametime forum. If you're a user and you head out to the forum, do be prepared. It's usually more of a geek type forum where they're asking questions about development or administration or things like that. But you may find that you pick up some things there or you ask your question. Just be prepared that it's not exactly a user's forum, and you may get really confused when you first go out there. So I would recommend lurking a little bit to see what kind of questions are being asked and get an idea as to what it is that's going on out there. And also, for more information, as Chris mentioned at the beginning of the session, Pact Publishing, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be releasing our book. It will be titled IBM Lotus Sametime 8 User's Guide, written by Marie and I. We've been working on it since last November, and we're finally in the final stages of editing. So once again, we're hoping that we can expedite the process out and that there will actually be a real book on real shelves with actual pages you can turn. So be looking for that. Also, we did discuss, and I did mention that high-quality microphones, as you can tell between the difference of Marie and myself, they do make all the difference in the online meeting. It's really hard when you're having an online meeting with somebody that's got a poor microphone that's popping in and out, or that's picking up their nose as they're breathing, or it's sounding like cotton swabs have been swallowed. So spend as much time and effort as you can finding a really high-quality microphone. And again, I'll reiterate, the webcast sponsor, Plantronics, they really do have a great selection of equipment out there that you can use. Integrates very well with Sametime, high-quality stuff. It's very well known in the industry. They have a great reputation, so I would definitely recommend going out and checking with them. And with that, here's our contact information if you want to send us questions. Chris, we can probably turn it back over to you, and you can take control away from me, and then we can go back to your screens and go from there.
I'm going to leave it up here on the screen in case anyone needs to see it and get in touch with you guys, most definitely.
Okay.
You were right saying thanks to Plantronics for being behind it, but something else everyone that attended should know, that if you have users in your environment, once the replay of this goes online, this is a great resource to point them to actually learn about using the client. So picture this as the visual cliff notes for the book that these two are doing.
But buy the book, yes, definitely buy the book.
Yeah, or buy the book still. They need to buy the copies. But I'm saying this is a great just reference point for those that are users that, want a quick overview of all the different capabilities. Two side things. One, we're going to go ahead and do a session on the gateway and get that up and running for those that want to learn more about that and implementing it. I'm talking about administrator side. But the other part is something I forgot that I had posted. You guys brought up a great tip that I forgot I had done a long time ago in this early 7.5 days of Sametime, and didn't do it, but I'll add the link to the replay of this as well as your files for this, the PDF, is I made a custom set of community icons. So you could choose different colors and different things like that. So you could put them in your client and say, if you're going to connect to your company, leave it as the standard green. If you're going to go to bleed yellow, there's yellow, there's red, there's orange. There's a whole bunch of those icons that are already pre-made. So I'll go ahead and distribute those again as well.
Oh yeah, awesome. I mean that any of that custom stuff. I mean that's the one nice thing about Sametime is that there is that ability to customize that interface. Even if it's in a small way, it does make it easier for you to see who you're connecting with.
All right, what system they're on, and mainly if you start getting a bunch of groups and start using Sametime more, because keep in mind as a user you can connect to not only your internal environment, but if they allow it as an administrator, you can connect to other communities that are out there that are public, such as the Greenhouse. Greenhouse.lotus.com has a Sametime community that's public. Bleed Yellow has a public community. So there's a few that are out there that you could communicate with other people. So we'll get those on there as well. But otherwise, you two, fabulous. We finished on time. And a lot of great content. There's a lot of tips you forget about, mainly like alerts and things like that. And look at the alert. Sometimes they use an alert to notify when someone comes online because you want to avoid that person. That's a good.
I'm guilty. I've done that.
It's a good way to do it, as well as privacy controls. The same thing with privacy controls. You can actually hide presence temporarily from somebody if you need to. And that's a good way to get yourself some busy work done if someone's constantly badgering you too. There's privacy controls. So we'll get both this online. Tom and Marie, hopefully this book is out shortly. We're all anxiously awaiting it.
As are we.
Not, yeah, we'll wait. We'll yell at PACT as much as we can. Both their blogs have constant updates. Marie has tons of technical information, more administrator-driven on the high end, not as much user. Tom has tons of reviews and development tips and book reviews and everything else. If you're an avid reader, that's the place to go as well. And otherwise, you two, we are done.
Thank you
Anything
very
else?
much.
Nope. Once again, thanks to Plantronics. And if you guys have any questions, remember some people after last week we did an episode with Kathy and sent in some great suggestions for future events and topics they wanted covered. If you have events or topics, please email them in to events@consultinyourpocket.com, and we will get them in the rotation or find someone to do them if they're not already planned. Some are already planned. But some great topic suggestions came in as well. And otherwise, everybody, we'll give you back about 1 minute of your time, and hopefully you're registering next week for Lotus Protector. It'd be a great session on implementing and deploying Lotus Protector as a spam and virus prevention in your environment.